The glass walls looked innocent until you realized they were built so you could watch yourself break. I sat inside a law firm conference room in Boston, fingers laced tight, pretending this wasn't the same city where I once dreamed of changing the world. Funny how dreams shrink when family decides you're the wrong child to love. The air smelled like polished wood, coffee, and betrayal that hadn't yet spoken. Across from me sat my parents. My mother smoothed her blouse again, and again like wrinkles were her enemy instead of truth. My father checked his watch every 30 seconds, as if time itself owed him obedience. And beside them, slouched in designer clothes he didn't pay for, my brother Tyler scrolled his phone. I had built myself from dust to steel. They still looked at me like I was made to patch their roof and their guilt. The lawyer, silver hair and voice like velvet, cleared his throat. "Thanks for coming, Alice. This won't take long. People always say that right before your life implodes. We're here to finalize your parents' estate directives." I nodded. Calm face. Steady breath. Inside, a tremor. He continued. "Your parents have chosen to leave all assets and holdings to Tyler." There it was. A sentence that didn't thunder. It whispered. But it landed like cement on my chest. Silence stretched. My mother reached for water, but her hand shook. My father stared ahead, jaw locked like a man who chose pride over his child decades ago. "All assets?" I asked. My voice didn't crack. "Points for composure." The lawyer nodded. My parents stayed silent. Tyler kept scrolling. "And their home?" I asked. "To Tyler." "The retirement accounts?" "To Tyler." "The lake cabin?" My voice grew harder. "The one I renovated?" "To Tyler." I leaned back. Breathed. Felt heat crawl up my neck. And what am I receiving? I already knew the answer, but sometimes pain requires clarity. The lawyer cleared his throat again. "Your mother requested that you receive her cookbook. And your father's coin collection." Coins. Recipes. Generosity measured in crumbs. I looked at my mother. "Why?" She blinked rapidly. "You're stable, honey. You don't need anything." There it was. Love, weaponized as logic. My father added, "Tyler requires more support. He's still finding his footing." My brother smirked like gravity didn't apply to him because our parents had always held him up. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. Disappointment isn't sharp anymore when you've swallowed it for years. I stood. "Thank you for telling me." My voice was quiet, controlled steel. "I'm glad I finally know where I stand." My mother whispered, "Don't be dramatic." I smiled. Small. Dead calm. "I'm not being dramatic." I picked up my bag. "I'm being done." And for the first time in my life, my father looked afraid of losing me instead of expecting me to save him. I walked out. No tears. No second thoughts. Just a truth echoing in my blood. Love that demands sacrifice isn't love. It's hunger. And I was done being the meal. When you spend a lifetime holding a family together, they forget you can also walk away. The days after the meeting felt like breathing underwater. Not drowning. Just learning new lungs. I worked. I ran job sites. I invoiced clients. I laughed with my crew. I lived. And every few hours, my phone buzzed with ghost wounds wearing familiar voices. "Mom, we need to talk. You're being unreasonable." "Dad, call me." Family matters require maturity. "Tyler, grow up. Life isn't about money." I didn't reply. Silence wasn't anger. It was peace sharpening into boundaries. Instead, I went home to my quiet apartment overlooking the river. City lights shimmered like a future I built with grit, not permission. I opened my bank app and stopped the automatic transfer to my parents. The one that covered their mortgage. The one they never thanked me for. The one they pretended was my duty. Click. Done. Funny how freedom sometimes sounds like a button. 3 hours later, my phone exploded. "Mom, payment didn't go through. System error." "Dad, fix the transfer immediately." I stared at the screen. Years of sacrifices, loans I never asked to be repaid, medical bills I covered with overtime and ambition. Every holiday I showed up with gifts while they showed up with expectations. I typed 3 words back. Not. My. Mortgage. Send. My hands were steady. That's when the guilt storm arrived. The calls grew frantic, then angry, then cold as ice. Dad's voicemail. You owe us respect. We raised you. Funny how parents forget you became their retirement plan without signing up. Friends noticed my silence too. You okay? Maya asked over coffee. You look relieved. But tired relieved. I smiled. Relief has weight too. She squeezed my hand. Whatever you're choosing, I'm proud of you. For the first time, someone was. Meanwhile, Tyler posted selfies at a bar opening. I recognized the interior. Custom wood. Premium finishes. Paid for by my parents' second mortgage. A mortgage they took out because they knew I'd pay it. A tremor passed through me. Not heartbreak. Clarity. I had loved them more than they ever loved fairness. Family loyalty feels righteous until you realize it's one-sided. And suddenly you're not loyal. You're chained. So I stopped pulling the chain. They would learn to walk without leaning on me. Or they'd fall. Either way, I wouldn't break to catch them anymore. You think the explosion is the moment you say no. It isn't. It's everything that comes after. It started gentle, like persuasion dressed as concern. Mom, everyone's worried about you. Dad, success has made you selfish. Tyler, you can't abandon family. Abandon? As if I hadn't carried them for a decade. When guilt didn't work, they escalated. My uncle called. Your mom says you're unstable. Should we check on you? There it was. Not love. Reputation warfare. Fine. They wanted a new game? So I gathered receipts. Bank transfers. Medical bills. Repairs I paid. Spreadsheets. Screenshots. Emails saying, thank you for covering this, sweetheart. Proof of years of quiet generosity. Not to weaponize. But to remember I wasn't imagining it. Because emotional manipulation makes you question your own math. Days later, my mother showed up at my office unannounced. She marched past reception like she owned the building. Everyone thinks you've changed, she hissed in the hallway. I looked at her. Really looked. Fear behind anger. Entitlement behind fear. I didn't change, I said softly. I stopped obeying. Her face crumbled. This isn't you, she whispered. No. It's just not the version of me that served you more than myself. She didn't know what to say. People rarely do when the person they fed on stops apologizing for bleeding. That night I made tea and sat by my window, city lights flickering like truths waking up. It wasn't sadness that held me. It was grief for a version of me that tried too hard. And relief for a version being born who wouldn't. Then the real twist came. My Aunt Emma called. They asked me for money, she whispered. They told the family you stopped supporting them suddenly and cruelly. My stomach tightened. What did you say? She exhaled. I told them I've seen your bank statements. I told everyone the truth. Silence. Not loneliness this time. Solidarity. You're not crazy, Alice, she added. They just never believed you'd stop playing savior. My throat tightened, not with tears, but power. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me. You did this. You chose yourself. I didn't sleep that night. Not from fear. From realization. Freedom isn't quiet. It echoes. And sometimes it shakes the house you walked out of. The foreclosure notice arrived 2 months later. Not to me. To them. But I heard about it. Word spreads fast when a family's foundation cracks publicly. In the same week, Tyler's bar closed. Social media announcement. Economic conditions. Reality. Mismanagement funded by denial. Suddenly, the calls changed tone. No anger. Just desperation. Mom, we might lose the house. Dad, we need temporary help. Tyler, you're letting your own family suffer. I didn't respond. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're clarity. One evening, I stood in my new condo kitchen, chopping vegetables, when I realized I wasn't shaking anymore. That used to be my normal. Hands trembling from responsibility that didn't belong to me. Heart racing from fear of letting everyone down. Now, stillness. Then the doorbell rang. It was Lucas, 2 coffees and a small smile. You look peaceful. I am, I admitted. You know it's okay to love them from here, he said gently, tapping my chest without going back there. I leaned into him. What if they never forgive me? He kissed my forehead. You didn't betray them. You told the truth with your actions. Later, my mother texted again. Please. We're scared. I stared at the words. Once, they would have gutted me. Now they just ached. Because loving someone doesn't mean funding their irresponsibility. I whispered to the quiet room, you chose dependence. I chose myself. That night, a thought surfaced. Forgiveness isn't opening the door. It's removing the weight from your heart. I wasn't there yet, but I was walking. Pain always circles back when it's ready to soften. A month later, a letter arrived. Actual handwriting, not text bubbles or guilt in digital form. Alice, I don't recognize the man I became with you. I believed providing for your brother meant protecting him. I didn't realize I was sacrificing you to do it. We were wrong. You owe us nothing. You built your life. We leaned on it like it was ours. I'm sorry. Dad, I read it twice. Not disbelief. Recognition. This wasn't manipulation. It was accountability wearing humility. There was no request for money. No lecture. Just truth. I sat there, letter trembling slightly between my fingers. The city hummed outside. My heart softened in careful inches. I texted him. Coffee tomorrow? 3 words. Not surrender. Not retreat. Invitation. Healing doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers first. We met at a quiet cafe. My father looked older. Not weaker. Just real. No pride armor. No expectation shadow. I didn't know how to love you without using you, he admitted quietly. I nodded. And I didn't know how to love myself without permission. We talked about boundaries. About the home they sold. About Tyler working now, learning responsibility without a safety net. About my mom starting part-time teaching again. About how losing comfort gave them dignity back. We didn't hug first. Healing isn't cinematic. It's awkward. Gentle. Earned. Later, my mother joined us. Tears, real ones this time. Hands trembling with remorse instead of entitlement. Tyler came days later, embarrassed and quieter than I'd ever seen him. We didn't rewrite history. We rewrote the rules. Once, family meant sacrifice. Now it meant choice. Months later, Lucas and I stood in our backyard under fairy lights. He held my hand. The world felt soft again. Not naive. Just peaceful in a way pain earns you. My father toasted us at our wedding. Not with pride in himself. With pride in me. You taught us what strength really looks like, he said. Not giving, but knowing when to stop giving. My mother cried. Tyler hugged me. I didn't shrink this time. Years later, people ask how I forgave them. The truth? I didn't forgive who they were. I forgave who they are trying to become. And I forgave the version of me that thought love required exhaustion. Now I wake up in a home I built, in a life I chose, with love that doesn't take more than it gives. Some scars shine. Mine do. Not because I broke. Because I stopped breaking. And that is how I finally learned, family is not owed. Family is earned. And so is peace.